Shiur is dedicated to Nishmas Rachalei Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi. In the last year we started discussing the malacha of the topic of Amir La'akum as it applies to Malacha Shabbos. So you're not allowed to go ahead and instruct a guy to do something on behalf of a Jew on Shabbos, the Isser of Amir La'akum. We pointed out that Isser is certainly only an Isser D'Rabbanan, not an Isser D'Oraisa. So even though there's an allusion in the Pasuk that might lead one to believe, and the Mechilta seems to indicate that there is an Isser, the Torah tells us when it comes to Yontif, that Kol Malacha Lo Ye'aseh Bahem, which suggests that not only is it Aseh for you to do Malacha, but Af Al Acherim. And the Mechilta seems to indicate who are these Acherim, not another Jew, but it has to be talking about a guy, because when it comes to another Jew, the Jew itself, the other Jew himself has an Isser of his own. So what's the Chiddush of Lo Ye'aseh, shall not be done? That's L'Rabos Acherim, which would be Goyim. That's the indication of the Mechilta, which might suggest that that's an Isser D'Oraisa. We point out that the Ramban al Torah says very clearly that's just an Asmachta. We do not assume a halacha, it is an Isser D'Oraisa, and that is the consensus of the Rishonim, and certainly la halacha we assume Amir La'akum is only Isser D'Rabbanan. Then we went on to describe and to elucidate the reasons for this Isser D'Rabbanan. Why exactly is Amir La'akum also? Why were Chazal goes when it comes to Amir La'akum? The Rambam in Perek Vav of Hilchot Shabbat halacha Aleph indicates there's a classic case of pure gzera. A gzera shemayav. If you go ahead and are habituated and asking God to do things on your behalf, so then you might yourself come to do the malacha themselves, and therefore it's a gzeira lest you come to do malachas yourself. That is the position of the Rambam. We saw Rashi in different places in Masechah Shabbos, Avodah Zarah, who indicates two different alternative reasons for the Isra Amir La'akum. One idea is it's part of the general Isra of V'daber Davar, Shlo Diburcha b'Shabbos K'diburcha b'Chol. That your speech on Shabbos should be different than your speech on Chol. On Chol you speak one way, on Shabbos you speak in an entirely different way, in another fashion. And therefore, as part of the rubric of the Gzeira of Midivrei Nevim, Yeshayahu Hanavi, V'daber Davar, is your speech has to be different. And therefore, if you're speaking to Gentiles about doing malacha for you, that is Chol-like speech, and that will be usher. One should not engage in Chol-like speech on Shabbos. Amir La'akum would be a classic case of Chol-like speech. That was the second reason of Rashi. A second reason that's also cited by Rashi. And the final reason that you find for the Yisrael Amir La'akum is the concept of Shlichus. And that is, Yesh Shlichus L'Nachri. There's an element of Shlichus L'Nachri. The Nachri is an expansion of the Yad Yisrael, and therefore, in a certain sense, Shluchos Shel Adam Kamoso. If a person himself instructs a Gentile to do something on his behalf, so the action of the Gentile is attributed back to the Yisrael, and therefore that's the reason for the Yisra of Amira La'akum. Those are the reasons we discussed last time. We pointed out that we can understand a number of halachos in light of that reason. We discussed the nafkaminas of asking a Gentile to do something to you from Friday to be done on Shabbos, or asking on Shabbos to be done on Sunday. And we pointed out that as we get to the heter of remiza, hinting, so it makes good sense that hinting is going to have certain types of heterim with respect to these three different reasons for the Isser. If the Isser of Amir La'akum is like the Rambam writes, is a Gzeira Shemayavo, so when you go ahead and hint and you make some kind of shinui in how you request the action, so then already we're not choshesh that you might come to do the malacha yourself. If the Isser is one of Amir of V'daber Davar, that you shouldn't have chol-like speech, so when you hint and you don't mention the malacha that you are asking for, you're just talking around it. So again, that's not considered to be part of the gzeira of chol-like speech. And finally, if it's a matter of shlichus, so for shlichus to kick off, you need a minui shlichus, you need an appointment, a call for action. If, however, you're just hinting without a real bona fide call for action, that would not create the minui shlichus. On some level, the akum is acting independently of the mishalech, and therefore the shlichus relationship would not be set up. At the end of this year, we just introduced the Gemara Maseches Bab Metzia, whether there is a prohibition of Amir La'akum in other areas of Torah besides Hilchot Shabbos. And here the Gemara has the following question: Mahu sheyomar adam lenachri? Are you allowed to tell a Gentile chasom parasi v'doshba, to go ahead and muzzle my animal and thresh with the animal? The halacha is that when you're working in the field with animals, the halacha is that din d'oraisa lo sachsam shor b'disha, you're not allowed to muzzle the animal. You have to give the animal the opportunity to eat while it's working. This is part of the halacha, one of the sources of the halacha of tsar Balei Chayim. So, can you go ahead and ask an Akum, a Gentile, to go ahead and thresh your field, work in your field, and muzzle up the animal? Chasom parasi v'doshpa. So the Gemara says, Mi amrinan, ki amrinan amir la'akum, shvus. When we say amir la'akum is nisr rabbanon, hani mili linyan Shabbos. Maybe that's only when it comes to Shabbos where Chazal goes there. The Isser Skila is a very, very chomer Isser, and therefore perhaps only there do you have such an Isser. Aval. However, when it comes to Chasima, Lo Sachsim Shor B'Disha, the Isser Lav, which is only an Isser Lav, it's a more Kal Isser. Lo, maybe there is no Gzeira. O Dilma, or do we assume Lo Shna, or do we assume that the halacha is that there's no difference whatsoever whether